Look at that beautiful smiling face. Oh my goodness. Okay. So
Hey, Kevin, how you doing,
I'm,
man?
I'm so glad to see you.
I'm glad to see you.
I don't really need to set this up, but I will tell people that there's a common thing that's kind of happened with my daily sort of Zoom casts. I've had time to reflect as we have this pandemic quarantine to think about the people that have had a real positive impact on me, impact on
Oh,
the community. And I love the fact that people that I've been talking to really are dear to my heart. And this person has been around this music scene for so long that has impacted so many people. We've got a ton of fun to get to. So I'm just going to introduce her. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got Iris, the lovely Harrison, with me.
hi. How's everybody doing today? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many people miss you. I,
Well, I miss everybody too, but this is a new thing for me.
yeah,
So I'm kind of I'm in it. I'm enjoying it. I know everybody else, and I really hate all the other stuff that's happened during the pandemic. Certainly, my heart goes out to every musician out there that was, gigging local clubs or great big tours like the Stones and stuff. It's tough. But for me, I kind of planned this little nothing, and it's like the whole world's going with me, right?
you've got, yeah, well, a lot of people have said that it's kind of like a homebody's dream, right?
Yeah,
So I think if you're used to being at home, I mean, right now you're enjoying retirement, right? So
hmm.
maybe we could start sort of now. You can catch people up on what you've been doing since retirement.
Well, let's see. I retired on December 18th. And after that, there was a holiday busyness. So did that. And then we launched into a new year. And I found that January, I didn't want to do anything.
Really?
I felt like I wanted to be like Rip Van Winkle and just kind of go and take a big nap. So I did.
You slept
And
all of
then
January?
I don't remember January.
Okay.
January, I was in my, I was pre-COVID quarantining.
Wow.
So I
Pre-planned.
just I just stayed home and hung out and read books and listened to music and watched movies and did all that stuff that everybody seems to be doing now. In February, I flew down to the desert to see my birth mother, and and when I came back, everything started locking down.
Okay.
And so that was the only thing I did. I went to Arizona,
Well, good for
and
you to get
I
the
didn't really
opportunity.
do much. I just went and hung out with her at her house, and we talked and watched movies and did that. But one thing that I did love that I did is that I was able to, I love driving through the desert.
Yeah,
That's like one of my favorite road trips, just
you
because
bet.
it's vast and huge and the sky is amazing. And so I enjoyed that little bit. And then I came home and started getting ready to put my garden in and do all the things around here. And the whole world joined me.
Yeah. So you got your garden in?
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
deal. Oh man, I'm so far behind. I really
Yeah.
am. But
I'd
like,
come over and help, Kevin. We'd have to have the distancing, but
do you have a rototiller?
I do.
Okay. See, that's the first thing. My garden is a mess. But hey, go back to the desert for a second. This is one of my favorite things ever. I've only done this a couple of times, but I love renting a car and going up past Sedona, getting up to Jerome. Have you been up there?
Oh God, yeah, it's
Oh my God,
beautiful.
it's incredible.
Yeah,
I've never
it
seen a
really
place
is.
like that. Yeah,
It is absolutely gorgeous. We went to Sedona a couple of years ago, Marty and I, and we drove everywhere. We had a huge SUV just because I felt like, why not?
right.
Let's just have this thing and drive it everywhere. We drove to the Painted Desert and the Petrified Forest and the Grand Canyon, but our home base at that point was just Sedona,
Nice.
which is intense and
Yeah.
amazing. And we took helicopter rides. We went to the vortexes. We did
Oh
all that
yeah.
stuff. It was great. And ran into friends there that I had worked with that I didn't know were going to be there.
But they were from up here?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Carolina, she's so cool. She worked in our traffic department.
okay.
And I put it on Facebook and I went, oh, I'm in Sedona. And she goes, I'm here too. Let's meet for breakfast. I'm like,
Right. You
fantastic.
can't get away from them. Portlanders are
No,
everywhere.
it was great. It was great. So yeah.
Good, cool that you got the opportunity to hang with your mom before the quarantine, right? When
Yeah.
everybody would want to be with family and then they can't be. You kind of
Yeah.
got it. You got in early.
Yeah. So, I gotta say, It's really funny. My life usually, you think of timing, and I really look back, and sometimes you feel like you're just out of sync with what's going on. But I gotta say, it's my life has been this interesting events of good timing. Getting into radio, good timing on my part,
Yeah.
and retiring, also very,
Get,
very good timing
getting
on my
out.
part. And I
Yeah.
didn't see any of this. Like I have no magic crystal ball,
You didn't pick that up in Sedona? You didn't get the crystal ball that said,
maybe it was the vortex.
I'll bet it was.
Might
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting how it worked out so well. I mean, I was ready to just have downtime, and by God, I got it.
Yeah, you do. Do you believe in luck?
I do.
Okay. I only bring that up because a lot of people mention that they have an incredible amount of luck that led them to
Yes.
the success they had. And I've gone back and forth, right? I've said, I feel like I'm the luckiest man on the planet. And then I
Yeah.
think, but I also think that so much of the opportunities that you've had are because you've probably put yourself in a situation that you've gotten, right?
Well,
And
you prepared yourself.
right.
You prepared to do something.
Yeah.
You just didn't know where it was going to go.
And to
And
close
so
yourself off.
that's where the luck comes in. It's a combination of preparedness and timing.
Okay.
And you can't make the timing happen.
Right.
A lot of times you can, certainly I'm sure there's situations where you can, if you're huge business and you can make opportunities happen in that way. But when you're just, little person going, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
And so you think, I need to prepare myself, and you need to find something you love to do, and a way to do it more and better. And, and then there's this opportunity that comes up and a door opens,
Right.
and somehow you're ready to go through it. And if you're not, you can fake it.
That's a perfect transition then. So let's hear it. So when Iris was a young gal, not sure what she wanted to do with her life, what were you doing to prepare yourself, and how did things happen for you to get you where this
I was a combination drama, arts, and music geek.
Okay.
And I was a chameleon in school. I could hang with anybody. I could hang with the jocks. I could hang with the stoners. I could hang with anybody, and so I was. I found my love in acting when I was in third grade. It hit me pretty powerfully. I knew that I get that all the time. I just knew that that's something I wanted to explore. So being in front of people, and I was a kind of a shy kid. And my mother was actually astounded that I liked being on stage, because I was not the one in the family who was always the one in front of everybody. And I wasn't that person. So I think she was just, like, what in the world? Who are you right now? And I kept pursuing it, and I learned as much as I could. And then it's just interesting that all that kind of led me to radio. I fell in love with radio. Radio was like so magical when I was from the time I was a baby. I mean, when I was born is when Elvis his first single came out, the year I was born. So
it was the music from radio that got you?
Yeah.
Okay. Not personalities. This is just brand.
But I was interested in who was behind the microphone.
Okay.
Because I grew up in Monterey, California. Okay. And there was a little station that was on Cannery Row, and it was a top 40 station. They played everything from Johnny Cash to the Beatles, and it was all good. And it was top 40 at that time. And I went to visit this station, just to kind of look at the guy, like, oh, that's how they do that.
Yeah.
It was
peeking the windows.
Fascinating. Huh?
You were peeking in the windows at the.
Yeah, they had, the big hallway, and you had the big window, and you could look in at the jock, and he's looking at me like,
this kid.
Go away, kid.
Right.
But actually, it was funny because the first time I ever went there, I had dance lessons. My mother gave me everything: skating, baton, She
Wow.
threw everything at the wall. Let's find something you like. And I found theater. But anyway, and it kind of worked out well because she gave me so many other little things that I knew how to do. And so it worked out well. And then once I got to advance a whole bunch there, I got to Oregon, and I was going to the University of Oregon,
Okay.
and I was in the theater department, and I had to take a class that was somewhat related to theater. And so I thought, TV radio workshop, I'm in. Sounds
Nice.
like an A,
Easy.
That, right?
Yeah.
That was easy. So I took it. And what I didn't know is that that's what changed. That's where I fell in love. I fell so madly in love with radio. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
And it was just like meeting that other person that you look at and you just go, oh, all I want to do now is just be with you.
My soulmate.
Yes.
Did you have a really good instructor that kind of helped nurture that interest too? Or
Interestingly, it wasn't so much the instructor, because I can't even remember who that instructor was. The one that came after that certainly was a huge influence, but
okay.
the one for that particular class, it was more of the group of us that were together. We had to do an exercise where we did a video project, and somebody had to be the director, somebody was the writer, camera person. So we all, played around with, okay, what part do you want to do? But there was a group, and it was the group dynamic that I loved, which I then found later also went over into radio, because it's the group of people that you're working with, your coworkers, the people who are trying to make this thing happen, this magical thing happen. And I was so taken by it. It was fantastic. But I did, after I figured out what it is I wanted to do, I announced it to my parents. I found what I want to do. And so I said, and it's not here at the U of O. I'm going to go to Lane Community College, which they were kind of happy about because it was cheaper. Mm-hmm. And they said, hey, follow your dreams, do whatever it is that you want to do, just have a good time. And that's when I met my friend Jeff Young, who still to this day, I just talked to him on the phone yesterday, but he was a huge influence as to me getting into radio. I talked my way into the program after they had already done fall term. I had already done fall term at U of O, and I wanted to go winter term starting at Lane. Okay. And they were already a term into it. And I tap danced and talked my way in and said, no, really, I can do this. I can do this. I got this.
Yeah.
And
that's where your theater and drama background.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So I talked my way in, and by that June, I had my first commercial radio job.
Wow. No kidding.
So I was ready.
Okay.
Again, it was opportunity. It was preparedness.
You bet.
And timing.
And I would say probably tenacity, because it sounds like you really.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that goes into it. Yeah.
Sure. You bet.
You're a musician, you've got to sell it. If you don't sell it and you don't sell yourself, at some point, it'll never work.
That's the truth. Yeah. Yeah.
It'll never work. So,
all right. So June, you're working. So you got the radio station there after going to Lane for a few short runs. And, so what year was that?
1975.
Wow. So you've been in radio
45 years ago.
Unbelievable.
I know.
Who has that, right?
Crazy, right?
I can't believe it. I talk to Richard Blade quite often, right, about his K-Rock days, and Rodney Bingenheimer seems to be at a lot of our shows, and so I love to talk to these people that have these memories of those days way back when radio was so much different, right? So when you're on radio at 75, it's a completely different environment, right? There's no corporate sort of entity that dictates what to play.
Ours was owned by a guy. He had the first FM station in the state of Oregon. Okay. And his name was Duke Young. And Duke, because it was the first FM station, he would go to appearances with FM tuners in the back of his car to sell to people so that they could listen to his radios.
Wow. Oh.
Yeah. And his son is Jeff, my instructor.
Okay.
So it was nice that Jeff kind of, said, well, my dad has this station and they're doing this rock and roll thing. And, you might, give a shout to my friend over there. And so I got hired and yeah.
So how long were you in that station?
I was there until spring of 1976. And then I came to Portland and started working at KVAN,
Oh yeah, Bob
the
Anchetta.
Monomaniacs.
That's right. Oh my goodness. Okay, so because I would think that you probably didn't have a lot of like on-air guests and like you because
Not in
you would
Eugene.
yeah right
Not
but
in Eugene at all.
you came to K-Van, and this is a huge part of rock and roll history for Portland, right?
Yeah.
So, oh man, so did you kind of have to work your way up there at K-Van to?
Well, it was really interesting. I applied. I realized that as much as I loved the station in Eugene, and I did so much. Oh my God, I learned so much about music. I learned a lot about myself. I was able to embarrass myself live on the air in Eugene, to my heart's content, and suck really bad out loud in front of everybody and get over it, And then, so I sent out tapes and I, going back, listened to them and go, oh my God, the fact I even got hired is ridiculous. But
You still have
bless
those?
it, huh?
You still
I do
have-
somewhere.
Oh man, those would be fun to hear.
Somewhere.
Yeah,
But I sent my tapes to Bob Anchetta, the big
course.
BA,
You
and
bet.
he hired me. He hired me at KVAN.
Wow.
Yeah, he was the program director. And he had been doing mornings and he was tired of doing mornings. And I was doing mornings in Eugene, which everybody thinks, oh, you did mornings. And it's like, yeah, but you don't understand. Back in those days, mornings were like not a thing on FM,
Sure.
freeform radio. Because nobody woke up until noon is what they kind of figured.
Right. Right.
So, okay, nobody's going to hear you anyway. Might as well do mornings, right? And so I had a apartment in West Lynn, and I drove all the way to Marine Drive where the station was every morning to turn it on
Oh my
because
God.
it was an AM directional.
Wow.
And so I had to turn it on every morning.
Oh man.
And there's a warm-up process. It isn't like you just flip a switch and you're on. It's like you got to warm that baby up.
Gonna prime the glow plugs. It's like wow. So
Yeah.
were you did you have like a music director or production manager or anything? Was it just you that had to fire up everything and get
Me, just
that's
me.
it. All right.
That's it.
Okay.
And it was on, oh God, this is so funny. I don't know. Have you heard much about the old KVAN studios back in
Well,
the day?
I just didn't know the public history. That's it.
Okay. Well, it was in a little tiny building, like a little cottage kind of building. There was a little room that I guess at one point in time had been a bathroom or something. And it was the production studio.
Oh, nice.
So there was no bathroom in the little building.
Oh,
And then one of the bedrooms, or maybe it was a living room, was where the main studio was. Then there was a program director's office, music director's office, and then in a complete other area, they had a single wide trailer that had the office manager and that kind of thing. And that's who would answer the phones if you ever called the radio station to the business line and you weren't calling the request line. And it had no bathroom.
Ooh.
I say that a couple of times because people don't believe it, but it had no bathroom. So if you were in need, you either accepted the fact that you'd have to go walk out to this area that was really creepy, and it was an old like gun club blind kind of thing where there was like an old falling down shack building, but it had a toilet.
Oh.
Either that or think of the longest song you can think of and get in your car and go to McDonald's in St. John's.
So you're putting on like side one of 2112 and just going.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida,
There you
heard
go.
more times than it should have been in its entirety.
And you couldn't loop it then, so you had to put the record.
No.
The needle
Yeah,
down.
and you just prayed that it wasn't gonna, oh, please don't skip, please don't skip.
Oh God. All right, so you're bathroom negligent.
Yeah, so there I am at KVAN, and yeah, first time I did interviews and so forth was at KVAN. And that was something because I'd never had to deal with that before. So, whew,
Do you remember your first?
yeah, it's a wonderful and a sad one. It's Tommy Bolin,
Oh, wow.
who was the guitar player for the James Gang at one point. He replaced Joe Walsh in the James Gang, and he was in Zephyr, and he was with Billy Cobham,
Oh,
and I loved him so much. And I talked to him. I did a phoner with him, and then went back and met him at the Paramount afterwards. He was opening for Rush, supposed to open 2 shows. He could only get it together to open 1, and he died the following December.
oh no.
Yeah, I knew. When I saw it, BA and I were backstage, and I looked at him and I said, "Well, he won't be here long."
Oh no.
Sadly true.
You could really see that when you had the phoner.
He was a
too.
junkie, really bad. And the saddest part about it was not when he was playing, because he was profound. I mean, you just, how?
Somehow
can
they
you?
somehow they do it. I don't know.
I don't know. But he was amazing. So that was my first interview at KVAN.
Okay.
And I'm glad I got to talk to him. I'm glad I got to meet him.
Yeah, that's a piece of history.
But that was my shot. So
Wow. Did you at that point, and you've interviewed so many people. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how you remember so much of
well,
this stuff.
interesting, because doing mornings, I didn't interview as many people. I interviewed listeners and other like book writer, people who had written books, or maybe an actor or two. But think about it, because you're a musician. How many rock bands want to get up and be part of a morning show?
Oh, we don't want to, but sometimes that's part of the deal, man. You got to do it.
True, but it didn't. It wasn't really part of the deal. It was more of the afternoon person, and that was Gloria Johnson, and she was also our music director. Gloria did a lot of interviews. Dick Sheets did a lot of interviews. Marty did as well. But when I was on with Mike Turner, it was mostly newsy kind of things, and with the listeners more than anything. But then when I went to middays, yeah, that's when the interviews started.
You mentioned the listeners. That's one thing about this conversation is everybody that I talked to about speaking with Iris, you had such an impact on so many people because you engaged with listeners. A lot of radio personalities really have a wall up, right? They're really guarded, but you really have welcomed people into your life in and outside of radio. It's amazing.
Some of my dearest friends I met through them listening to the radio station and calling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's remarkable to me. And I feel, again, luck, there's that luck thing, but I do feel lucky that I met these people in the way that I did. And it's more than, because I'm a fan, I'm a radio fan, I'm a music fan, and I love the medium. And so I'm a fan of all of it. I'm a fan of the people who listen. I'm just a fan. So having that closeness and being I'm very appreciative that anybody even bothered to, listen and enjoy what we were trying to do.
It comes through for sure.
Amazing.
That's, man. Well,
I think about some people that maybe were making out while we were playing some songs, and maybe there's a couple of children that were born because.
Yes. And those, every time they look at their kids, they think of Iris's voice, and that's a little creepy, right? But,
kind of weird, isn't it?
Oh man, no, Jen Rankin is such a huge fan, and we have.
Oh, she's awesome.
She's amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Jen's listening now. She said to say hi.
Hi, Jen.
But she, I think when we first moved to Portland, we moved in '94. And she instantly, gravitated towards your show, and we talk about it all the time. She'd catch me up on my 3 songs and talk about.
Oh, that's so cool.
The transition, from like the Mark and Brian show into yours. And Jen is not one of those people that is at all starstruck. She's met a million big rock stars and actors and everything, and she just recognizes good people. And
that's so sweet.
She's the first. I remember when we all first hung out at the Mark and Brian show at the Crystal Ballroom. And she just said, I'm so glad she is as real as she seemed on the radio.
Oh.
And I bet you've heard that 1,000 times, but
that was 2012, baby. 8 years ago. Can you believe it?
there, to me, that's a lifetime ago, to be honest with you. You know,
I
so yeah,
know,
I can
right?
believe it. Yeah, but I only bring it up because I think I talked to you when I mentioned all the people that you interviewed, because I've seen a million pictures of you with
Oh yeah,
everybody under the sun. So those are probably appearances. You're backstage at a
yeah,
show, and okay.
mhm,
And so
yeah.
have
A
have
lot
you,
of that.
you developed a lot of relationships with those kind of artists as well because
You
of
know,
the
the relationship is uh, not really. I'm
okay,
more of a
okay,
fan that saw
okay.
him once, but there's a few people, who lasted, who you go, oh my God, you're just kind of the most amazing person, and thank God you're in my world of that I can actually call a friend.
Yeah.
And um, you know,
Anybody
that's
come to mind?
yeah. One of them that I love is Bill Champlin
Oh,
of the
cool.
Sons of Champlin. And he was in Chicago for years. And
Yeah.
I was such a Suns fan. In fact, they used to play, I remember in Eugene in the quads that the Suns would come and play shows there in the quads. And, it'd be outdoors, everybody's smoking joints and having a good time, just like, yeah, this is great. And I just loved it because I had already loved their music, and to see them perform live, and geez, this is free and this is so cool. And then when the Suns kind of formed and came back around, and there's this wonderful bunch of people who brought them back to Portland, and did a show, and they were called Naive Productions at that time. So they brought them in, and they knew I went nuts. I was like, oh my God, the Suns are coming. And so they kind of involved me in that whole thing. And through the years, Bill and I have become friends, and I think he's one of the best people you ever want to meet.
Right.
Funny too.
That's
Oh, holy
yeah.
cow, that's a funny man.
You got to have a sense of humor to be in this business in the first place, right? So,
Right,
God,
right. Oh my God. And then Mike Skill, I consider Mike Skill a friend, just because, what a great person. I know you know Mike,
I
so
do. Yep. Close to my,
isn't
in
he a
fact,
great person?
at that show, Mike and I were playing at the Mark and Bryan show with you at
Yeah.
2012. Yeah, he's one of those people that I will say he had such a profound impact on, I think, my sort of state of mind right now in a really positive way. I feel like he's family. He's my brother.
What an awesome, I mean, and love his family to death.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
so cool. I adore his wife and son so much. So
yeah. Like
yeah, so it's cool. I mean, Portland is unique, and there's people here certainly who it's funny because people think, well, what band is from Portland?
right.
And it's like, well, there's actually a lot of them.
Oh my God. Yeah. People are blown away when I talk about the musicians that live here and have
Yeah.
relocated, because there's a lot of magic here for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So,
I was unaware that Earl Slick had lived here for as many years as he did. I was like,
right.
what?
Yeah. It kind of lives under
What's
the radar.
that?
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't reach out to you right when he came.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what? Wait, I missed that whole thing. But he got to know other people on the radio and people in the business and stuff, and I think that's so cool. But crazy in love with their music too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll pull us back to you're in K-Van. You moved to Afternoons, and you got your Tommy Bolin interview, and people. I would imagine
I did mornings at K-Van. I did morning.
I'm sorry,
but,
that's right.
But I had to work on Saturdays, so that's when I.
That's right.
It was not a 5-day-a-week job. It was a 6 or 7-day-a-week job. But anyway, so sorry.
No, that's great. So tell me about that transition. Were you kind of working your way up in terms of status and airtime?
Yeah, and just learning. And it was so great. It was great learning from BA, because he was the stage manager at the Paramount.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So I got to learn and I knew theater. So I was so comfortable in a stage environment.
Right.
And I loved it. And I did a number of on-stage announcements, back in the day when they'd let disc jockeys go on and bring on the band and stuff. It was really great. You had to, I loved that part. That was just like, oh, that's so juicy,
Yeah.
so cool. And all you really had to remember is what label they were on and what the name of the tour was, and that kind of stuff.
Hopefully the name of the band.
Yeah, well, yeah, I usually didn't screw that one up.
Right.
but it was fun, and it was like it was electric, and I just, it still fulfilled that kind of like, okay, this is why I did the drama thing. This got me ready for this.
You bet.
And so I learned a whole lot from BA, in terms of just seeing how it all worked as far as live shows and where radio worked in. And it was fantastic because it was like we had the keys to Disneyland, we were there all the time.
Wow.
Anytime there was anybody in town, we went.
Yeah.
Period.
No
that
way
was just how it was.
You didn't miss a show.
It was great.
Yeah. So this is like all through late 70s.
Yeah, the 70s and the 80s. Well, and then I moved to KGON in 77.
Oh, wow. Right after. Okay. So
I know. It was a quick succession, and then I stayed.
Yeah. You were at KGON so long. That's amazing.
Oh,
really
crazy.
That when you moved there, was it kind of like a reset for your status? Did you have to kind of work your way up and prove?
Oh yeah. Okay. Totally. And I was willing to do it because also let's talk salary here.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was in Eugene, and I was working 6 days a week. I was earning a whopping $250 a month, baby.
A month.
Of course, let's put that in perspective. My rent was $75.
Yeah.
So it was doable.
Barely.
It was okay. I mean, my needs were small. And then I got hired at KVAN, and it was like $450 a month. Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm in the big time now. And then Gloria had already made the leap to KGON. And she's the one that called me, and she was working part-time. She also went from being full-time status music director to part-time at KGON. And then when she was moving up into full-time, she called me and she said, Iris, there's a part-time coming up, come join me. It's going to be fun. So I did. And God bless him, Bob Brooks hired me, and I came over, but here I was doing overnights and fill in and anything in the world they wanted me to do. If they told me to clean a toilet, I would have done it, because there were actual toilets there.
You really are moving up in the world. You got a real bathroom.
Yeah. Nice. I was like, dang, this is awesome.
And salary was better even at part-time?
Well, what was funny is I was working weekends, and then I was filling in as much as I possibly could. And I mean, seriously, I'd go sit in a mall because we had, poster competitions and t-shirt, where you'd solicit artwork from people, or, whatever promotion, and you'd go sit at a table somewhere. I was willing to sit at a table all damn day. Wow. Didn't matter to me, man. I'm going to do it all. Yeah. So I found out that I made as much part-time for KGON as I did full-time at KVAN. So to me, it had the possibilities of being a big leap for me.
You bet.
And even though I was, working in the middle of the night or whatever it was, filling in for people, it was worth it. And so luckily it worked out.
Yeah. You're young. You can do that, right? Those crazy hours.
Oh, yeah. I was what, 22? Yeah. I was 22 years old.
Best time for it.
Oh, it's the best.
So
I was only 20 when I started. So.
God. So you had to slug it out, though, for a while. Overnights and part-time and filling in.
Yeah, I got to KGON in March of 77. And by October, it was in October when I was hired to do mornings.
Oh, great. All right.
So
wow.
It went pretty quick.
Yeah. Probably didn't seem like at the time, but you
No, I don't know. What's really funny is that I was there during, it was great weather. It was summer, so who cared? There were so many things to do. I was busy all the time, and and I was also free for the radio station. I was free to do whatever they needed me to do. So it worked out real well.
What was a morning slot like then compared to what they are doing now?
Well, we had news back then.
Okay.
I mean, actual good, and it was good news.
Right.
I mean, Mike Turner he was one of the best newsmen, and Chris Burns also was in our news department, and we had great news. I mean, I remember, that Netflix documentary, Wild Wild Country, about the Bhagwan and all that. I watched it and I was like, I remember when that happened because we were reporting on it. We were
You
doing all that stuff. So all these things that were happening in Portland, we were very lifestyle oriented news.
okay,
And of course, the news of the world,
but it wasn't
remember
heavy,
when Chernobyl happened, remember all these things that they're making these movies about now. Like,
right?
I lived that. We reported on that all the time. And yeah, it was a great time. So that was different. There wasn't so much shtick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You could be more authentic then, and not have to
yeah,
feel like, hey,
yeah. I came up in a world of be real.
yeah,
And that's all I knew how to do anyway, so it was a good thing. I mean, not downplaying shtick, because it definitely has its place.
right.
There are some talents that have come along that still just are amazing. That you look and and Stern, look at the world that he made for himself. Like, really?
That's a shtick in and of itself, for sure. Right.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
real. It's him
Yeah.
too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a little of both. And Mark and Brian, you had a little of both.
Yep.
So it changed, but I was there when it was news and information. And yes, we had fun, and yes, we had games, and we did. Oh my God, if we could go out and do remotes somewhere, we'd find a place to do them. Whether it was at Rose Festival on board a ship, or whether it was, I remember we had a waterbed remote one time, and we had everybody come in their sleepwear. Well,
Oh,
yeah, that several women in garters and teddies were there.
I never got invited to those things. What's
Yeah.
that? I mean,
those were funny. Yeah, it was for a waterbed store. So this whole waterbed store is taken over by our listeners,
oh
and
my God.
I called it Breakfast in Bed, I think. And then we started doing live shows on Friday all the time, and we did it from one of the places it was on. We called it Breakfast on the Willamette, and it was at Cal's. You remember Cal?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a building there now that's a big apartment. So anyway, we would go in there and invite listeners, and people would come in and have breakfast and make them part of the show. And
Wow.
it was fun. We had a good time. We really did. We had we invited, oh God, what were we thinking? We invited listeners to come and join the morning show in a hot tub one time.
Oh yeah, clothing
Yeah, that's a
optional,
good
I'm
idea
sure.
with electrical equipment, isn't it?
Yeah. So you just
Yeah. What were we thinking?
like, was it a big 14-person hot tub? And that sounds like one of those swingers club stories I hear about. The
We were looking to, how do we just get out there and be among everybody, and what's going on in people's lives right now. And so that was really reflective of that. Like, when we saw something this is getting some, people are kind of doing this now. Let's see what we can put together. And it was really great. We had a really wonderful promotion director, Diane Bates, that did a lot of really, she had worked in Hollywood prior.
Oh.
She had worked for a movie company. And so when she came to Portland to do radio, she kind of took us there. Like, this is something maybe you ought to consider doing. So that really helped KGON in many, many ways.
That's right around 80. Is that when she came in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. When I think about, that was just pre MTV generation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
did you see that? Did MTV change the way that radio went for you?
Sure it did. Of course, everybody thought it was going to close us down, but that didn't happen.
Sure.
I always laugh and say, everybody's been trying to kill radio since the invention of television, and
Right.
it's still hanging in there.
Yeah, I mean, it transforms to satellite and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that you I just, it's one thing I haven't talked to other radio personalities about. I do see everybody involved in MTV all the time with the shows that we do, and
Mm-hmm.
that was such a big part of their life. But when you talk to, say, Alan Hunter, these MTV personalities, they all talk about how pivotal radio was to them, and it was an opportunity for them to kind of be part of it. And
Yeah.
when you did those early sort of community-based events, those promotions, I would bet you still have so many people that come up today that say, I remember when I was in a hot tub
Mm-hmm.
with you. And yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh yeah,
great.
we did a wedding one time at that cute little chapel down there in Oaks Park, you know,
Oh
that
yeah.
adorable little chapel, wedding
Yeah.
chapel. We did a play-by-play wedding. We did, it was like a golf tournament the way we, and now the bride is walking down the aisle.
No, this
You
is
know,
a legit. This is a real wedding.
we did a real wedding. And
Oh,
we had people apply for why do you want to have the KGON wedding?
okay.
And still I heard from the gentleman, they're not married anymore.
I was gonna
Unfortunately,
ask.
we can't claim that one. But yes, I'm still in touch with that gentleman for,
Does he blame
a
you?
year. So it's kind of funny how that happens.
He probably, that's the excuse. He says, if it wasn't for KGON, our marriage
Yeah.
would still be strong. Those guys, they messed up the shtick. Man,
Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, it's great. What a great life. And like I say, Marty and I, we'll look at each other sometimes and go, God, we were lucky and just amazed. Blah. And Marty and I met, by the way.
that's what I was gonna ask.
Marty be my husband,
Absolutely.
and Marty Party. And he and I met at the station in Eugene, but we weren't together then. We were
Okay.
both with other people. And I moved up to Portland, and I'd go down and visit my folks, and I'd go in, stop in at the radio station because, after so many hours of hanging with the folks, you gotta go, well, I gotta go see my people.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'd go hang out with Marty, and we'd go for a beer or whatever. And then one thing led to another, and I was in Portland and he was in Eugene, and he kind of said, I think there's more opportunities for me in Portland. So he moved up, and I went to full time, and he got hired on part time. And
Right on. Did you have a little influence in getting him the gig there?
actually, no, in fact, it was funny because Jim Robinson's the guy that was the PD when Marty was hired.
Okay.
And he said, hey, so Marty's done radio, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, would he be interested? And I said, you do know we're married. Like we're married now. And he goes, yeah, doesn't bother me.
Nice.
Hey. So, it wasn't, we got together in spite of radio.
Okay.
Because of and in spite of.
Yeah. But nurtured the friendship first, which is probably
Oh, yeah.
really helped solidify things because radio, it's not an easy life for sure.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Like in those early days, and he was working part-time, you were working full-time, obviously living in the same house together. And
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Oh, and he managed one of the bars where a lot of bands played. It was
Really?
the Foghorn. Yeah, the Wreck of the Hesperus, and then it became the Foghorn.
Okay.
And that's where he met people like Doug Rowell. You know Doug, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Lang Circus.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, we met all these musicians, it not only from radio, but because Marty was managing the Wreck or the Foghorn when it became that, along with Dick Sheets at the time. So there was it was interesting because there was this real marriage between the clubs and the music and all the bands that were out. I mean, you couldn't swing a cat without hitting a band in Portland back in those days.
Right.
The live music scene was unbelievably great.
You bet.
It still is. That's the thing that kills me is the musicians are still so amazing. There just aren't as many venues. I mean, it was like you could, everywhere downtown had live music, live original music.
Right. Yep.
You
did you develop sort of relationships with a bunch of those bands and at that time?
Yeah, I'm still such a fan.
They all talk about you now too.
Oh, I'm still such a it's funny because you meet the big stars, like you meet Robert Plant and you're like, ah. But to me, the ones that still make my heart flutter are the local musicians.
Yeah.
Because we really did have friendships and we hung out, and it was more than just, but I love going to my places right by the stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have some local bands that maybe didn't take off that you really admired that you thought, oh, they should have been bigger?
Oh, I think every band I ever saw. I mean, I really feel that way.
Yeah.
It's like why Johnny and the Distractions was not, I mean, they had the record deal, they had all that stuff, they toured, but they were so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. John Kuntz. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Crazy Eights, another band.
That's
unbelievable.
one of
You
the
know,
reasons I moved here.
mm,
When I in Montana,
really?
I saw Crazy Eights play at my college in Montana State University. Blown away by the band, and I was already covering a couple of songs from the Dan Reed Network.
Oh,
My band named themselves Slam after the Dan Reed album.
oh my
So,
God.
so when I found out that my buddy was moving to Portland, I couldn't wait to come and see Crazy Eights and Dan Reed Network, and I was devastated when the network had just broken up. But
Yeah.
sorry, I'm not taking away from your story. I'm just
No,
telling
no,
you.
no, no, no. I loved, oh my God, the mayor's ball. And I was thinking like all those mayor's balls where you had, the two stages and oh my God, what a powerhouse Dan Reed was. And
Oh,
then they opened for the Stones. I
right,
mean, excuse me. So
right,
I just keep saying, why weren't they bigger?
right. Yeah,
They were amazing. I mean, Pleasure, Cooler, all
right.
these bands that we would go and see and just like run into. I mean, like I say, you could plan a night of like, we're just going to go deposit ourselves somewhere in Portland and walk around all the clubs.
Ah,
And there was music everywhere. It was so fabulous.
and you didn't have
That's another pinch me moment.
you didn't have any children at that point.
No, we
Okay,
waited
so
a while to have kids, thank God.
yeah,
I love my son and deeply, but I knew I wanted to party.
yeah. Oh, I mean, it's tough, right?
And I had babysat enough kids in my life from the time I was 11 on, and I had been a nanny for a couple of kids too, and I knew how much work they were.
Amen.
I knew that, and I didn't want to do it without being that kind of parent,
Yeah, right.
and so I put that off until I was ready, and we were ready.
Oh, but those kids out there that had you as their nanny must
Yeah.
have such great stories. What an awesome nanny to have, Iris Harrison. That would be fun. Oh man. All right. So Iris, you and Marty, you're out checking out the scene. You're still doing the radio. Marty probably moved in full time at this point. Like,
Yeah.
all
Mhm.
right. So you guys are
Yeah.
just rocking radio, but different shifts.
Yeah.
So how'd you make
And
time
so
for
a lot of people don't know we were married.
Yeah, right. It's
Yeah, because we never did that. And we never kind of we always made it about, and part of it was because there were two of us working not only in the same business, but at the same station.
right.
What if one of us gets fired?
Right.
I don't want both of us to get fired,
Oh,
right?
but the benefits and everything is so good there with radio, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Do you think, I know this for a fact, but you probably met so many people that assumed that because you were on the biggest station in the area with a really prime slot, they think that radio is so financially substantial
Mhm.
that they might, it's incredible how hard people work in radio and
Yeah.
really just have to just like, grind it out. And so when it came to the point of you retiring,
Uh-huh.
it's and I don't want to jump to that point yet, but that must have been a really tricky thing to imagine. All right, at some point I'm going to be done with this.
Yeah.
Right? So, but then in those days, were you just really appreciating the fact that you could put in as many hours and be part of the community?
Yep.
It wasn't.
It was love. Like I say,
The love of the music.
It was just, and it's like, yeah, we needed to get paid because we had bills to pay and
Yeah.
yada yada. But it wasn't like, not everybody makes Howard Stern money. Not everybody makes, although that's kind of a perception, maybe it isn't true, at all.
Yeah.
What radio people make, and nighttime people and middle of the night people, back when they had to have actual people there
Right.
during those shifts,
Right.
and we're making a whole lot of money, and it was a living, and
Yeah. So you-
the thing I
had-
always say is
had
we
to-
got paid in
had to be the music.
entertainment. We got to
Yeah.
entertain
It's
ourselves.
true.
Yeah, we weren't paying for concert
You
tickets.
never had
so
to.
there's that.
Oh yeah, you probably would have anyway, because I know
Well,
you
yeah.
just love music. But people probably want to know about crazy stories on air. Do you have any embarrassing moments where you had somebody just go off the rails?
I'm sure I did. Oh yeah. Okay, here we go. My
Alright.
first interview at KGON. Ted Nugent.
Oh god. Oh,
Yeah.
he bring his bow in.
It was the album Free for All had come out, and he was back. It was the Free for All tour.
Okay.
And yeah. And so he came into the studio, and I knew I was going to, Jim Robinson, who was the program director, called me and said, hey, you want to fill in for me for this afternoon? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. So, okay, I'm coming in. And he goes, oh, by the way, Ted Nugent will be in. I was like, but what? Yeah, Ted Nugent's going to be in. Now, I didn't know a whole lot about Ted Nugent other than I had done at the first station I was at. I was aware of his debut album. And of course, at KVAN, we played him. So I was totally aware of his music, but I didn't know him.
Personality wise, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So good news, bad news. Good news is there's very little you have to say and you're fine. How you doing, Ted? You got it covered for pretty much a good long while.
Yeah.
And of course, Ted being Ted, you know, he wants to talk about cars and women and you know, all that kind of stuff. And I asked him a question about Journey to the Center of Your Mind with the Amboy Dukes.
Right.
And he went off about drugs. Cause I said, well, like, is that about a drug thing? And he just went off. That was kind of, so I was like that great Maxell ad where the guy's sitting in the chair and just being blown back. That was me.
Oh man. Yeah.
But you know what? He was, and I got to say this for Ted, because one of the best self-promoters in the business, remembered people's names, and never forgot that you were there, promoted his show, and he was, always there for the radio stations after that. It was never political in those days, so that didn't even enter into it. Nobody really, other than no nukes and maybe that kind of thing, but there wasn't a lot of that going on in terms of rock stars that we were playing. So we didn't get into that, but it was a moment. It was a moment where I was not prepared, Kevin.
Oh man.
I was what the hell just happened here?
You stepped into the deep end right there. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If you're gonna have a radio, an on-air interview with a personality, that's a great way to jump in with both feet, right? Because you're ready.
And you're not scared of anything after that, right?
Ever. Absolutely. No, I would
Bring
imagine his sobriety probably had something to do with him remembering those things, right? So even if he's absolutely,
he was, and he was, he truthfully, it was really funny because he was very kind to us, and because he remembered we were kind to him. Good. So it was like the whole, but who knows how I'd be now. But although I think I saw Sammy Hagar, his Sammy's show on Access TV with Ted, and I was fascinated. I was like, this is going to be fun, and it was.
I have to see it because
he's kind of the same guy. It's just that he's he got real political there for a while.
Have you worked with Sammy?
Yes.
Oh, let's
KGON. Yeah, we love Sammy. And we loved him at KVAN too. That was, and I played him at my first station, KFMY in Eugene. I absolutely adored Sammy. I remember where I first heard Sammy was actually with Montrose, and I was at a kegger somewhere in Eugene. I don't know how that happened. So anyway, and I was like, who's doing this song? Yeah. This is great. So
do you remember what it was?
Yeah, Bad Motor Scooter.
Oh, so good.
What the heck is that?
Totally.
I gotta hear it again.
Oh man. Yeah.
I gotta hear it again.
You hear Rock Candy, then it's
Rock Candy.
Over.
Oh my God.
Yeah, God.
So good. But yeah, he was always, and Sammy was one of the easiest people in the world to work with. I mean, truly a gentleman, loads of fun.
Yeah.
It's a party going on every day, every minute. He is a party going on.
To this day. That's incredible. He's in his 70s, right? Is he 71, 72?
I know.
Yes, yeah, that's incredible. But
yeah, so no, he's fantastic. I mean, it's just, I really haven't met anybody that was horrible. I mean, you can meet, I always like to think of it this way. Everybody can have a bad day.
Yeah. Yep.
I know I certainly can.
Right.
And I met people when they weren't really that forthcoming. And what I find is that you kind of have to find somewhere to go that isn't just about the tour or the album or something.
Yeah.
You got to find where their interest lies. So my being prepared for the
Yeah.
moment and the timing is that if I I was going to have a call with somebody or I was going to interview somebody, find out about them personally
Sure.
so that you could deal with that rather than just the business end of it. Now, some people didn't want to do that, so
They don't want to talk about themselves personally.
yeah, that's fine too.
Before we talked, I mean, I just mentioned, is there anything you don't want to touch on? I love the fact that you just said, man, open book. I can
Yeah,
talk about
open
the
book,
kids.
ask what you want, ask
Marty.
away.
Yeah. You know, well, I will acknowledge I'm very ADD. I think in this conversation, I jump around a bunch, but
Oh yeah.
but I have a lot to talk to you about. And I remember you had a tough cancer scare,
Yeah, I
right?
did.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was 2006 and I was like I was 52 and I just knew there was something wrong. That's a good thing to be in tune enough. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not a workout queen or any of that stuff. I don't do, but I'm pretty in tune with how I feel.
Mhm.
And I've been very blessed in my life that I've had pretty darn good health. So when there was something a little off, I was like, man, I don't know what this is, but it isn't right.
Yeah.
And so went to the doctor, and sure enough, I had uterine cancer.
Wow.
And when you just hear you have it, you it's so weird. It's so surreal because you almost think, well, no,
Right.
this can't be. And yeah, it was real. And so I had to have the whole. I mean, they not to get graphic, but what the heck?
Yeah,
They
man.
took out everything. I mean, and did all and I'm glad actually that they chose to do it that way because there's not been an instance since then. They were able to take everything surgically.
Good.
And I didn't have to go through chemo and I didn't have to go through radiation.
No.
I had to go through a hell of a recovery though.
I'll bet.
And actually that resulted in hernias, unfortunately.
Wow.
And then in repairing the hernias, I picked up MRSA.
Oh.
So it's like,
kick you when you're down.
there you go.
Want to throw a pandemic?
I'm still here, baby. I'm still here,
Yeah.
And so it proves that you can walk through a lot of stuff and have things that really, knock you down. But I think that the whole attitude that you approach it with and how you go about dealing with it is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not saying it'll save you every time, but it sure helps on the road there. And my philosophy was always like, well, if this is it, at least I was happy up till this point.
Right. Yeah.
I'm doing okay.
We should all be lucky, right, to get to that point.
Yeah.
Because we're not given tomorrow, right? And
No.
especially right now, people are sort of faced
Right.
with uncertainty.
Right.
And I talk to a lot of musicians in these conversations, and our sort of performance and professional world is sort of turned upside down. And so you got to find things that can bring you fulfillment, right?
Right.
And you just don't want to let one of those days go by without sort of finding something that brings you
Yes.
joy. And so
Yes.
you're when you're at that point, you're facing your mortality. You get diagnosed with uterine cancer.
Yeah.
I would bet it was tough for you and Marty both, right? That was a scary time.
It was a tough one. And actually that same year, in fact, that's when I met Mike Skill. I met Mike that year because he had done, the Romantics did a Little Stevens Underground Garage Rock and Roll Circus thing.
Yeah.
And I was hosting that at Batty's Pan. And
oh my God.
that's where I met Mike anyway.
No
So
kidding.
yeah. And
Mike-
and it happened, and I was diagnosed like right after that show. So I couldn't, and I had to go into surgery, so I couldn't do the next show, which was the New York Dolls. And I was really looking forward to that one, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And then right before my diagnosis, Marty had a heart scare and he had to have a stent put in. And so we kind of had a real eye opener in 2006. That was
No
like
kidding.
an interesting year for us, shall we say. And it worked out okay though, but that's part of the cool part about having a partner in your life.
Yeah. Like having to deal with adversity, the same kinds of adversity at the same
Yeah.
time, probably
Yeah.
built a lot of character for you both.
Well, and then having to go on the air and pretend like everything's okay, you
Wow.
know, on days where you're hurting.
Oh,
But it made it, you know what I found? Pretend, you know, the old fake it till you make it. I'd go in, and somehow when I get in there and get on the air and flip that microphone, I felt better.
you bet. It's a
No
great
matter what was
distraction.
going on, I felt better. So it helped me. My thank God my career helped me
You bet.
get through all that.
Yeah.
So, you
You,
know,
you never know. I mean, honestly, the pressures of being on air could have contributed to the decline in your health too, without knowing it. So maybe it's given back to you. You know.
yeah, we've often. I remember one time we were in the Clackamas studios, and the old great big, you know, transmitter and all the everything was back there humming and hot in that
Oh.
room where it was in, and there were 3 towers for the AM station there that were like right by us. And I remember one time I was saying something. Oh, and then the neighbors, that's right. The neighbors in that neighborhood would sometimes call and say, I can hear you guys coming through on my toaster. We're like,
Oh yeah, that's scary.
right, get the tinfoil hat out. And
Yeah.
then the engineers say, no, they probably can because of all the frequencies that
Right.
are coming through. And we're like,
Oh
ooh, what's that doing to us? You know?
yeah. Right. Yeah, you're being microwaved right there.
Yeah, yikes, you know?
I see that Dan Reed just chimed in here. It's nice to see that he's watching from Prague, which is
Oh,
yeah,
hi.
yeah.
Hi, Dan.
You got fans all over the place, man, for sure.
Oh, he's the best.
He is. So, well, you had already okay. So, bumping back to 2006 when you got the diagnosis, you'd already had your son by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how old was your son when you were doing radio? How old? I
He was
guess.
born in 1984.
Okay.
So, yeah, and what's really cute and really sweet, I think now, because like, you know, I had to drag him around to everything.
All
You
the
know,
shows.
I remember the very first blues festival at Waterfront Park, and he was a little tiny kid with all the rest of our kids that were little tiny kids, and they were playing underneath the stage. I
Other
think
bands.
about that, and I think about how unsafe is that? But
Totally.
whatever. They were there climbing on everything, having a
Oh.
great time playing underneath the stage, you know.
Unplugging. What's this?
And he loves those memories of being drug around everywhere. And I didn't at the time. You know, he was kind of irritated by it, I think, truth be told. But now that he looks back, it's very wistful and
Oh yeah.
and sweet. He has sweet memories of that.
Oh, huge experiences. He probably met huge rock stars.
Oh
and
yeah.
had no idea who they were when he was young. And
Yeah. And I remember when I asked him, who do you want to go see? This was sad. When he was in first grade, and he said, and he had just really fallen in love with Queen, and that's when Freddie, you know, had been diagnosed, and we
wow.
knew we were losing him. And I was like, okay, well, who else do you want to go
Right.
see?
Option B.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
let's try another one. And
Yeah.
it's like George Thorogood. So yeah, so I took him to a Thorogood show. I think he was in second grade at that point. And I forgot how much George, you know, dropped the F-bomb at the
Oh.
so not
Yeah,
like he hadn't heard it before from
of
us.
course,
But, you know,
yeah.
just saying. You
Welcome
know,
to-
it was like on stage at the fair. You know?
Welcome to rock and roll, kids. Yeah.
Or
Well,
when I took him to Tom Petty, and he goes, you know, he'd been in the DARE classes, right? And so he's going, what
right.
is that smell?
Yeah.
That's marijuana. I said, honey, that's a concert.
Yeah,
That's the
that's-
smell of a concert.
Oh man, that's the weirdest conversation to have with your kids at that age, because you really can't explain to it other than, you know, just say, yeah, well, this is part of the experience. And
It's
yeah,
we're not getting arrested
yeah,
that I
right,
know of tonight.
right,
You know,
yeah.
so-
It won't stay in your bloodstream. You'll be okay tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah, don't worry.
Do you have those young experiences, like their age, that you saw a concert that just changed your life too?
When I was little, no.
Yeah, no.
Unfortunately, you know, my parents were sweet and all that. They didn't really, and they loved it that I loved music. I mean, my mom bought me when I was in fourth grade and had seen the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so she bought me the Beatle albums. Whenever they'd come out, she'd go out and, you know, okay, let's buy you the Beatle albums and all that. And very supportive in that way. But I lived in Monterey in 1967, and Monterey Pop happened. And I was in seventh grade, and I was dying to go. And they went, no,
Oh,
I know,
Wow.
I missed it. Isn't that the saddest thing?
My pop was there.
Was he?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But
so cool.
oh man,
And it tore me up. But my dad, so he put me in the car. He said, I will drive you there. So he drove me there and he let me get out. And he said, now I'm going to go park over there and you come right back to the car. You can walk around and look at people and then you come
oh,
right back to the car.
oh, that's
So
torture.
that's as close as I got.
Oh man, what a cool dad though to give you that. Because
Yeah.
honestly, that part of the experience is almost as cool as the music in some ways, right?
Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it was. I mean, but I was dying to be in there. I mean, the Who and
Oh
Jimi
man,
Hendrix and Janis
exactly.
and Mamas and the Papas and
Doors.
oh, all
Yeah.
of it.
Did you? What was your first record? Do you remember?
First record I ever bought was the Beach Boys.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still do you have it in that stack of albums back there?
Well, I can look at. Let's see.
Yeah, we got a good collection of alphabetized
You
Iris
you really
Harrison.
really want me to look?
I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. You had to pick the one right at the top, right?
Hmm.
BEA Beach Boys. There's the Beach Boys. Let's just bring a bunch of them out here.
I'm wondering if you had your original copy. If you
I don't
had
know.
one.
Let's find out.
That would be cool. Look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, you're getting to be a part of Iris Harrison.
Ooh, the Beat Farmers. There's a group that I
Oh,
love. Haven't heard them in a while. I have a bunch of them too. Oh, there's the Holland album.
Look at that.
In the summer. Oh, there it is. There it is.
That's your first.
Surfer Girl.
Look at that.
And look,
Oh my-
there's my name.
Look.
And
at
there's my
this.
dad's mailing address because he'd bring these to parties.
Wow.
And I wanted to make sure I got it back.
That's so great. Look at that. You
So, yeah,
have
I
it.
still have it.
Good deal, man. That's
Yeah.
this is better than being in Cleveland at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We get to see, and I know that you've got a ton of vinyl there. Do you have like special stuff that maybe this maybe sound corny, but did you ever bring vinyl to get signed from some of the artists you work with?
Oh yeah.
Did you? All right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. One of them, and I could look for that one too, but well, I'll just tell you about it.
Yeah.
EF Flash. It's back over here. Sorry, let me go look.
No, this is great. This is awesome.
Okay.
We're admiring your swag too. You've got all this cool memorabilia back there.
I started going through posters the other day, and man, I got a lot of posters, and I want to change up art, so I think I'm gonna go through things and have things framed.
Oh yeah.
This was actually, I love this.
Oh, look at that.
That's from when I was I went to this is the first time I went to the Oregon Music Hall of Fame.
I have that same poster frame. That's a Gary Houston
Yeah.
print.
Isn't it? He is
Man.
amazing.
Incredible. That is such
Oh my
great
God.
content.
I love his stuff. It's just incredible. So
That-
anyway, Here.
Man, there's so much cool stuff in here. Look at this.
Fleetwood Mac and Christine Perfect. I'm a
Oh.
Christine McVie fan big time.
Look at
But
that.
so she signed it Christine McVie, but somewhere, and it might be in another area, but she signed one Christine Perfect and put a bunch of question marks.
Oh,
There's
that's-
Mick Fleetwood's. I love that one.
Heck yeah. Wow.
Love that. Oh, here it is. Oh, yep, there it is.
Oh, look at this.
Thank you, Christine. And she was perfect.
Oh, that's great. Wow. I would.
So yeah, I'm a fan. Sure, I bring this stuff and I get it signed if I can. And
That's
my friends,
yeah.
my friends.
Well, really, I mean, for people like you in these markets, it's really important, right? For you to, that frees up.
Yeah, you froze up a little
Oh,
bit.
so-
Your kids downloading that game.
I hope not. Well, they may think that I'm done with the podcast, but not yet. No, I think a lot of these artists that, because you're in this industry, right? So they should be sort of as appreciative of you helping sort of champion their cause. And so when
Mhm.
you come in, and I'm sure they've got to be glad to sign this stuff for you because
Oh, yeah.
it's more than you pushing buttons. I mean, you're helping, sort of influence the marketing, the buying power for so many people,
And it really used to be that way. I think it still is for baby bands,
Yeah.
I know I certainly saw it with when I was still at Intercom, at KGON, and our studios were there where there was the Wolf and there was the Buzz and all that. And I'd see these baby bands come in for 94.7 and,
Right.
and all this, and very appreciative. But, really once an artist got established, man, you didn't see him again.
Yeah.
And that's different. That's really different because radio, just didn't have the power that it used to. It certainly did to break the bands and put them on, and certainly bands were very appreciative, but not many big stars came back. And when I was in it, like we had the big stars that would come back.
Yeah.
That would. And that was pretty amazing. I mean, one time, I'll never forget this. We did that Breakfast on the Willamette at the Buffalo Gap.
Okay.
And the Doobie Brothers were in town, and they came to the show.
And the Buffalo Gap show?
Yeah.
Wow.
And they didn't need, what? That's so cool.
Yeah.
They didn't need to, and they did. And Peter Frampton and all these people that just, they were huge and they'd had a lot of success and they came back. Frampton, and I love that.
He seems to have so much humility. We've met over the years, and I had Eddie Martinez on the other day and Jennifer, but he's such a fan of both. He said such great things about Batten and about Eddie, and he wants to talk about them more than himself. And I love seeing that in artists, right? So it doesn't surprise me that guys like him would come in and support any effort you had to, it's a synergistic relationship, a symbiotic relationship, really.
Right.
I mean, without radio at that point, bands couldn't succeed, And if there was somebody that really championed the cause like you were doing, where you actually cared about the music and not just about a job, then they probably fed off that too. And I would bet your reputation goes a long way.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I don't, I spent a lifetime doing this. It's nothing lasts forever, but memories that are sweet seem to last for a good long time.
Absolutely. Experiences, man.
Yeah. And also I actually, it's funny because rather than me jumping in and getting my stuff signed, I always found that if you were hosting listeners at an event with an artist, it was more important for them to get in there and get that done, because that is something they're going to remember their entire life.
Right.
And to me, that meant more to me than it was for me to get my, record in there and get it signed. And I think that's one of the neat things, and one of the reasons I think KGON did so well for so very long, was that we all kind of operated on that philosophy, put the listener first.
It was the most community-based radio station I've ever seen, other than maybe a local college radio, in a smaller market. But when you brought Mark and Brian in, because they were in the market, but they were LA based, right? But
that was a thing, yeah.
But they were so big here, and every one of those involved you. You were always part of them. Tell me about your relationship with those guys.
When they came to town, it was always kind of funny because they were LA, so they required this and that. They had a list,
Right,
it's like
take the brown M&Ms out.
Yeah, they had a list, and it included, and you always knew how there was a posse of people that would take them out to wherever they wanted to be taken and whatever. I jumped in as far as I wasn't the host at many of their events, but I was at the last one there, and that was really fun for me. Marty he hosted the event they did where they had the cigar bar going on and stuff. I think that was at Kells.
That's right.
I think it was. Anyway, everybody took turns. Dick Sheets did some. I mean, everybody took turns doing, and they did baseball games. I remember that's where I met Rita.
That's right.
And, it was just a lot of fun. It was always a lot of fun because you knew you had to plan an event around them coming.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that. God knows, until this COVID thing, Portland's full of events.
Yeah, it's the truth. Yeah, we're all kind of missing that social interaction right now. But
yeah.
You looked off to the distance when you were talking about Marty. Is he around the corner there?
Oh, he's in the other room watching. Well, the last time I checked in, he was watching golf.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Like old golf.
That's retirement for you.
Yeah. It's like, but you've already seen this one and you know who wins. How is this interesting?
Is Marty a golfer?
Yeah.
Okay, so he.
You know what we always laugh and say, you know, the secret to our success as a couple and staying married so long is separate television rooms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we just don't agree on watching anything. So, you know,
Different remotes, different, probably just different interests in general too is great, right? So you've got
yeah.
like, do you have?
Usually cocktails on the deck and music though. We're pretty in agreement on that one.
Yeah,
So
those are good ones to come together on. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have other sort of things that are keeping you busy, like hobby wise, that are not related to radio?
Gardening.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh man, yeah.
I'm a gardener.
You're gonna let me borrow your
And
rototiller.
yeah, I thought you know, and also, you know, this last Mother's Day, we broke down and saw the grandchildren and everything. We kind of been inching toward that, and then now that everybody's kind of been quarantined for enough time, you know, it's like, well, I'm gonna see them. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To me, that's living is seeing my family, and I got to see the grands, and so, you know, judge me if you will, but
Right.
I saw my granddaughters, and it was the best medicine that I've had
Yeah.
for my soul, and they are funny, spunky little
Are
characters.
they?
So my grandkids are, you know, that's not a hobby certainly, but it's
No.
a part of my life that I'm so glad I have. I'm so glad that, you know, my son was it was so funny. He was such kind of a lone wolf, and I kind of went, well, I may not, he may not ever get married, and I'll have to be okay with that, you know. And then he met Melissa, and they had kids, and they got another one coming in September, so I'll have
Wow.
grandchildren.
Congratulations.
And, love the heck out of that. That's
Oh.
a great thing to be as a grandmother.
I bet you're an amazing grandmother. You really,
That's pretty fun. They've seen Joan Jett.
Oh.
I took the kids to go see Joan Jett.
The last time when she was here with Hart?
No, the time before.
Okay.
And Addison was just in my arms, and she was little, but boy, she was grooving it.
Oh
She was
man,
so cute. So yeah, I want to have more time to take them, and I really want the music scene back, as you know. You know,
yeah.
it's the thing I was looking forward to. I thought, oh yeah, this is going to be the year where I can go really, and you know, I don't have to go right from work to the show. I can like arrange my day around it.
Oh.
You know, do that whole thing, and then it'll be so yummy. And I can take the kids, and we can hang at Edgefield and do a couple of those, you know. And it was
yeah. Now
next year.
Yeah. Now you only get to put on your makeup just to talk to me on a Zoom conference. Like, oh man, yeah. Do you still have to? I mean, you probably have hookups, right? You can still go to Edgefield and walk in and see a show and not have to buy.
Well, you know, I'm very respectful too that everybody has to make a living.
Yeah.
So on this end of it, I really haven't. I don't know. I don't know where. I'm fine. I can pay for a ticket.
Sure.
And you know, I think it's different when you're working. I think, and also, I know this sounds silly because people go, God, you've been in the business forever. You know, you can get into the show. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but I also respect that everybody needs to make their money.
Totally.
I get it. I get that big time.
Yeah.
And you know, musicians, as much as they not only entertain and are part of our life, it's like, I go, they need to have some kind of a plan somewhere for health and all that other stuff.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. You know, for me, when bigger artists come through and a venue is, you know, whatever, the Moda Center or one of those larger venues, yeah. I don't feel bad if a friend wants to put me on the list. Yeah. If there's a local band or somebody coming through where you know that they're putting on the guest list.
I'm gonna pay for that.
Yeah, because it's money out of their pocket. And I'm totally with you. Yeah. Well, it's cool that I'm not surprised that you recognize that, you know, but I think a good friend of mine that's a huge band he's a million concerts with that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're back.
I froze again. When this friend of mine that was a radio guy for a long time, Mike May,
Mike.
Yeah.
Love him. Hi, Mike.
Oh, he loves you so much. He's named his puppy after you.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, his dog Iris is Australian Shepherd. Yeah.
Perfect.
She's the sweetest dog. Yeah. So it's like he gets to go to bed with Iris every night.
I like it.
Yeah.
Sorry, saucy. Marty. I'm gonna give him a little ribbing for that.
There you go. Yeah. Marty won't care, right?
Yeah.
But I just think this opportunity to kind of get to see your smiling face is so important. People
Uh,
are, they're needing to see that people are doing okay and they're out there.
yeah,
You've been off the air now for, like 6 months,
a
and
while,
yeah, so
right?
you've learned. So this identity shift. Our friend Jana Lopez, right? She's talking
Right.
about
Oh
this
yeah,
this
yeah.
this identity change at this point. So
It
you've got
is.
so much more beyond the radio. So
Yep.
how do you feel like that has changed with you? Like where do you feel like you've sort of rediscovered your identity after radio?
Well, like this year, like I was saying, I kind of planned to chill, and
Yeah,
I'm doing that rather well.
yeah,
But I do have some things that I want to do, and one of them is writing, and it's not, oddly, it's not about radio.
yeah.
It's I have an interesting family story. I was adopted, and all the stuff that goes along with that. There's a whole story there, and I've got oh God, here I'll show you my dirty little secret here in my office is I have stacks and stacks of things. But I find, as I just tried to clean it up the other day, I went, I operate better when things are in kind of this weird chaos.
You bet.
So I get as far as like putting it in an organizing bin, and then I've got like all these old letters, all these really old letters that
Okay.
are from my biological parents to grandparents. And it was all during that, like when I was growing up, and I didn't even know them.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've got this family history that I'm just learning about.
No kidding.
Yeah. And
When did you get these letters?
when my biological father passed away, I found them. I went
Okay.
down we stayed in, we got to really know each other when I was 13. And fortunately, I've been part of my brother's lives ever since they were the ages of 3 and 5. So
Okay.
that I have 2 full brothers, which is also
Wow.
very interesting. But I found the letters, and I went, I want the letters. And they said, go ahead, take them.
Yeah.
So I've kind of made a promise to myself that I'm going to turn that into something, whether it's just a family history for our family, because you can self-publish on Amazon,
Right.
and that'd be fun, and put it together in some sort of form where you have a narrative that goes, that I have learned from the letters. So there's that. And let's see, what else do I do? At some point I'd like to organize all those interviews you were talking to me about, and put them up as kind of a historical perspective.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
I
So
think
much
that'd be
history.
a lot of fun.
Would you go chronological and start from the beginning and your Tommy Bolin interview all the way?
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where it takes me. So I have a lot of projects that I want to get involved in, and I just but I knew I was going to take this year just to kind of chill, because I think there had to be a separation.
You bet. That's smart.
I love radio, and I loved it, and I'm glad I did it. And
no longing for it anymore. Yeah.
No, I don't long for it. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I did it a long time. I'm good.
That, getting to that point really where it was such a huge part of your life, but feeling like the sense of accomplishment, right? You did it.
Uh-huh.
Kind of the been there, done that kind of thing, but really feeling like you're fulfilled, right?
Yeah.
You got out of it what you needed.
Mm-hmm.
And those experiences you talked about, at the end of the day, my kids and I talk about this a lot. For me, experiences are so much more valuable, right, than monetary things and tactical things that you have. When you're on your deathbed, you're not going to give a crap if you got a Rolex on your wrist, but you think about the experiences you had, and man, you've certainly got many lifetimes worth of them, right?
Oh,
that you've done. It's,
absolutely. And
what a gift.
So rich. And I just hope I passed a moment or two of happiness or whatever to listeners along the way. I thank them that they invited me into their lives and made me part of it. And that was what at that show on December 6th, which was my 65th birthday.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Revolution Hall.
Yeah. I said this a number of times. I really thank everybody that they invited me in, and I became, part of their experience. And it means a lot to me.
You definitely affected people in such a positive way. Jana chimed in.
Hi, Jana.
I wasn't looking at people's comments because I really wanted to be engaged with our conversation. But
Oh, I have to look at the comments later. I haven't either. I've just been looking at you.
There are so many. I see Lloyd Epperly says, "No hyperbole. You are the part of the soundtrack of our lives."
Oh,
And Lloyd says, "You're another Portland." He's talking about the Big BA being another Portland legend.
yeah.
And,
Oh, I love Lloyd. Lloyd's a good man.
Bruce McLaughlin loves you. He says,
Oh, Bruce.
Yeah.
Oh, see, this is all good stuff.
I love it. Mike Skill says hi to both of us, which is great.
Oh, hi, Mike.
Megan Hope says she had that first smell at her Rolling Stones concert.
Yeah.
Megan Hope says, I could genuinely say Iris has and will always be my favorite radio DJ.
Oh.
She took the time to ease the nerves of a young Portland Teen Idol winner who got to sing the national anthem before Hart in Salem for the State Fair in 2007.
Yes.
So much fun to hang with backstage at that concert. So
I never will forget. Oh my God, she did such a good job. I was so proud for her. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. See, those are the moments. Those are the little moments.
That's what it's all about.
I'll never forget up at the Clark County Fair, Foreigner were playing one year. And this was the year that after Lou Gramm had gone through all those horrible things with his throat and so forth, and he had joined back with the band. Didn't quite sound the same, right, but it was okay. And there was a young girl opening that one with the anthem, and he came out to see her.
Wow.
He was so moved by it. And to me, that's the thing I remember about that show the most was Lou Gramm going, "She's got pipes."
Wow.
And I just thought, that's so awesome.
Yeah, man.
That's appreciation from an amazing singer.
Yeah. Legend.
Yep.
Another legend, Jennifer Batten says, great not asking for comps. She appreciates the fact that you don't. Man, I don't know how well you got to know her over the years since she moved here, but I love her so much. You really, just is such an amazing woman. And she's been doing Instagram live chats and some amazing stuff online. It's hilarious. She just,
you guys, I gotta say, all you guys, all you musicians are so good at this. It's like, radio really needs to take a look at expanding more and like putting this stuff on. Cause I think this is cool. I think what you guys are doing is amazing. Like it needs to go more. So
it's selfish for me, honestly. I mean, if I don't get a chance to catch up with you, but once a year, I love that I can still do it here. I can't hug you from here, but I would. Oh, I guess until we get to see each other again, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I hope I wasn't boring, and I hope it was. And I didn't even swear much. I don't think I swore at all.
I probably did, and it's okay. We could actually delve into your history for days. So if you ever want to reach out, I'd love to do this again sometime. You can catch me up.
Let's do this. And we'll tell all these amazing stories when we can all get together again. And I miss everybody. And I swear to God, I'm going to come to your shows when this is all over, and I'm going to be the biggest supporter you ever saw. So
let's do that, and we'll go support some of these venues that are really, really, they need our help right now in a big way.
Absolutely.
I know that some of the venues.
I'm buying Aladdin T-shirts and everything I can possibly buy just to do something. It's like, my God.
Yeah. If you are out there listening and you want to be able to support some of the venues that have been great for these bands, at least the venues that are providing food, get out there and do some takeaway.
Oh God, go to a McMinimans and get some food.
Amen.
All these places, and it is very important right now. It is.
Billy Blues is really making
Billy Blues is great.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, you mentioned the Buffalo Gap.
Yep. Love them.
Jen Rankin says she's disappointed in the no swearing from Iris. She was hoping for it.
Well, shit.
There you go, Jen. That was for you.
Sorry, Jen.
Oh my God. Iris Harrison, I love you. I think you're an amazing human.
I love you too, Kevin. Thank you so much for this. This was a great time, and truly the highlight of my quarantine.
Oh man. Okay, you can wipe the lipstick off. You can go back to Marty and watch golf and
go get the jammies on, take the bra off. I'm good, baby.
I just put mine on. I'm going to take mine off.
Okay.
So, yeah. Amazing. God, you're wonderful. Have a beautiful time. I will see you when this thing opens up, and let's and kiss those grandbabies.
I absolutely will. Love
All
to
right, hon.
you.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
All right. Bye bye, hon.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, Iris.